To today's Lance Wallnau Show, you don't want to move away from this moment because we're talking about history right as it's happening. The obsession in Washington and in the news with going to war. It's almost as though we're trying to what? It's like trying to we're going to hug the porcupine right now. We're going to go deeper into debt and the destruction as a nation if we prematurely stoke conflict with China and Russia. So you don't want to miss this broadcast. We're going to be talking about some very powerful stuff. And you know, one of the things that bothers me most, Mercedes Sparks, is that we have crushed the economy of Russia. Now, we're using that with very smug satisfaction, like it's all part of the sanctions. It would be one thing if we were smart and we cut off their gold, or we cut off their oil and their gas, but we gave them the pipeline and we shut down our own pipeline. And then we drove Russia to do business with China. And Russia, by the way, Putin's plan, redivert his energy supply that the U.S. released sanctions on to China. And they're moving on gold. Putin says he thinks the dollar is going to collapse, and he's moving his economy to more of a gold investment. So I'm going to tell you something. We're playing chess with Boris Spassky right now. You think that Putin's crazy or dumb or evil? Well, yeah, so's the devil evil, but he's not dumb. And you want to pay attention right now to the economics, because America is, with the petrodollar possibly collapsing, meaning that Saudi Arabia is going to start trading with China. Folks, there's a shift happening, and it's not happening in the direction of the U.S. You got to protect yourself. All the dollars in America are vulnerable. Go to lancewallnau.com/Birch, because when you put your money, anchor it into gold and silver and other certain investments, what you're doing is you're creating something which is increasing and accelerating in value against the dollar every day. It's your life raft. And for those of you that don't have money to work with Birch Gold, go to lancewallnau.com/Birch, read the 21-page report, and ask God for divine provision. You'll be shocked and surprised how God will direct you when you start pursuing the wisdom of what he wants you to be doing. So you want to go there and do what we're doing and start looking at how you protect yourself from a government that looks like it's incompetent in protecting you. All that and more on this show. By the way, you want to like and subscribe if we're on various platforms. Like, subscribe, and leave comments when you're catching it, if it's on Facebook or if it's on various platforms. We love to read your comments. All right, we're going to go right into the show right now. Good morning and good afternoon, America. This is the Lance Wallnau Show, the place where people go to find out what's happening, what is not being covered in the news, and what's being covered wrong in the news, because we use our prescient prophetic powers, like superheroes, to be able to pull out of the rubble the reality of what gets lost in the manipulation of the sound bites and the emotional freight train that is right now the Ukraine-Russia media narrative. So welcome, Mercedes. I'm going to take this little device out of my ear for a moment.
Nice to be here with you.
And so here's the thing that is like really not good. I'll give you all the good. The not good is the emotional, hair lit on fire condition in Washington. We've lost the ability of sober reflection. The Washington Beltway crowd, it is so addicted to the media narrative cycle that the media narrative cycle, when it is in unity, catch this, when it's conservatives and liberals, traditionally right-wing and left-wing media cancel each other out. You know, they've got their New York Times and CNN, they're formidable, institutions. We have our war rooms, and we have our Bonginos, and we have our Tuckers. But in this case, Tucker's almost at an island by himself, because the avalanche of sentiment seems to be so strong in support of Zelensky and against Putin that it just beats the war drums in Washington, which is, we have to tap the hate brakes there. We have to slow this down because these fools will go to war the same way Democrats spend money. These right wing, some of these I listened to the senators yesterday. I don't think you got a chance to hear them, Mercedes, but I listened to Ted Cruz and Lindsey Graham about Bing. And, these guys, they love to talk tough. Their base loves to hear that. Republicans, it's weird. They'll go to war all over the world, but they won't fight Democrats at home. It's the strangest, schizophrenia. But I've watched that. And then, of course, Zelensky had his Churchill talking to Congress World War II moment, where he got to speak to the Senate and to the House, and he spoke to America's, primary movers and shakers, and made the appeal for support, and even invoked brilliantly the sentiment of Martin Luther King, so that he could wrap his arms around the civil rights aspect of the African American struggle. And instead of "I have a dream," his speech was "I have a need." And he cloaked it in Western civilization, and World War III is on the table. We have to stop this now. Not realizing, of course, unless you think about it, that this is World War III in stage 1. You don't want it to go to stage 2. As Bannon and the good doctor there point out, what's his name? Doc, the economist I love.
Oh. Peter Navarro?
Of course, Peter. Dr. Peter Navarro.
Yeah.
Dr. Peter Navarro.
Dr. Peter Navarro.
And so the doc points out that we're already in an economic warfare with China. We just chose now to go into potential cyber war and kinetic, certainly economic war, 2 different levels of warfare. Information warfare is another level. And we're in it right now. The CIA provides more talking points to the media than we know. I'm surprised there isn't more stories about this. I'll have to get Laura Logan on sometime. She's the one that gave me the aha on this. Laura's like Tucker. She's an independently gifted journalist and investigative reporter in the sense that she doesn't go with the narrative of other people. She finds out the facts. And what she did, which is interesting, is she pointed out that the CIA provides the talking points, just like Comey leaked stuff to the New York Times, just like Clapper and Comey were working together, like CNN, in order to leak the Russia papers and the Russia, accusation. These guys leak stuff to news all the time in order to manipulate the minds of Americans and to set in motion. And we ought to prosecute this. We ought to prosecute literally the hell out of it, because it is a strategy to light people's minds and legislative processes on fire by leaking fake news to platforms from the intelligence community. It's intelligent fake news. It has a purpose. And we're flooded with it right now about this war. We're hearing only one side of the story.
Yeah.
Now, that makes it hard, because it's hard to defend Putin when he's looks like he's raping your neighbor. I mean, how do you explain that? But there's another side to the story regarding how NATO and how the Davos World Economic Forum has been seeking to strangle Russia, and how the West has sought to infiltrate their culture and subvert it, like they've done to Europe with their trans LGBT values, which are anathema to Hungary and Poland and Eastern Orthodox, as well as all Muslims and Hindus. So America needs to be very careful. We're exporting arrogantly our latest version of liberation into cultures that right now we're certainly attacking Christian rights in the United States, and we're just recklessly running over these other religions and worldviews in other countries. And they're not just religions, they're national worldviews. China, by the way, rejected our trans movement. You know why? They looked at what happened in the United States. They looked at each other. They looked at Afghanistan. They said, we're going to get the heck out of this thing. Where they crush it now. They will not have femininity taught to men. They want masculine men who can kill Americans. They don't want women men. So I'm telling you guys, this may sound incendiary. I'm just telling you the way the world is right now. But Zelensky gives his cry. Now, this is a weird moment for me. I'm a Christian. I'm praying for Biden, and I'm realizing a lot of Christians have no power over government when they pray, because you're not on the right footing in the first place. If you really have hate for someone, you can't pray effectively. Jesus said, you have to love your enemies. So let's think about that. I may hate what my enemy is doing. I may despise their thinking, their belief system, and the fruit of what they do. But if I translate that to a personal animus, a personal disgust and loathing of a living soul, I no longer can stand in the gap and pray for them because my prayers have no power. So it's a delicate art to be able to be appropriately outraged and not personalize it so that you can always stand in the gap for the individual who themselves is in many ways being used by the devil and doesn't know it. Does that make sense? Listen, and I'm telling you, so most Christians out there, that you have very little power in prayer because you can't even get on your knees with the right attitude towards your enemies. So this is an interesting moment. I'm praying for Biden, that every instinct in him right now is to not accelerate. This man has proven to be weak and easy to manipulate. He gets his talking points from the woke millennials, Susan Rice, Obama, and the team in the back room who tells him what he can say, what he can't say, and reminds him when he's talking too much. Now he's actually in the place where he is resisting. It's almost like the part of his brain that is still cognizant is pulling back on 50 years of history, reluctance to get involved. He didn't want to take out Osama bin Laden. He just is, he talks tough but doesn't like to do stuff. And he really is trying not to start World War III because right now, America cannot afford to pick a fight with anyone. We can't. Our economy can't take it. And our military, I'm sorry to say, at the highest level, appears to be incompetent.
Yeah, my question too, though, Lance, is it's not Biden necessarily beating the wars of drum. It's everybody.
The wars of drum. It's the drums of war.
The drums of war?
Yeah.
Okay. But it's everybody. It's a lot of conservatives. It's a lot of Democrats. There's almost like no one standing up to this idea. And so I saw this tweet yesterday from Nikki Haley. She says, stirring words from President Zelensky, Ukraine is a major battleground in a fight between freedom and tyranny. The U.S. can and must do more to stand for freedom. And it's like, how does this play out in everybody's brain? You hear Lindsey Graham up there talking about, Putin's got to be taken out. We need more corporate activism, and that he would be taken out by the Russian people is what basically Lindsey was insinuating. And so you listen to that stuff, and it's like, do you think there's no consequences to rhetoric like that? And what exactly? How does this play out? My kids are going to go fight in a war in Ukraine and shore up their border. But the border that's
in Mexico,
you got
10 million climbing over the walls, and it includes drug cartels, dangerous gangs, and these knuckleheads. So here's what I'm saying. It's a delicate thing because I have absolute contempt for the way in which the devil has destroyed America, and I have contempt for the practices, ideas, policies, and manipulations of the enemies of America that are in government.
And how does it not end in nuclear war? How does it not, if we get involved and we send people over, we declare the no-fly zone, how exactly are people seeing this play out? Endless war?
It's idiotic. This is why I'm saying we have to pray. I'm serious about this. We have to intervene, people that can get a hold of God, because the mistake that is being made is if you back Hitler into the bunker and he has a nuclear option, who doubts for a moment he wouldn't bring the world down with him before he would allow. See, Putin romanticizes Russia and the Soviet Union in the same way that nostalgic, God-loving Americans become nostalgic about America, Valley Forge and George Washington. And so to him, if he's under this dark influence of a dictator, what makes you think he wouldn't use every weapon at his disposal to punish those who are trying to kill him? Mm-hmm. That's why we have to stop this. In the name of Jesus. In the name of Jesus. Lord, I ask you to intervene and to bring a divine peace and calm over this situation. I pray that there will be a fast track to resolution, that Russia will find a way to save face and to get what it wants without the shedding of blood and a premature world war. We'll be back right after this prayer.
You know, I wrote a book and I talked about Haggai, the prophet, talking about God is going to shake all the nations, including economic systems. And then just recently, I got challenged by a verse. It says, the silver is mine and the gold is mine. And I began to think, you know what? I'd hate to find out there was a promise and a warning here on silver and gold, and I never even thought about it. And that's the reason why I want you guys to do something right now. You want to get a 20-page special report on silver and gold. Go to lancewallnau.com/Birch, because Birch Gold is one organization that is being used by a lot of very credible people right now in order to position themselves with silver and with gold. You need to now start to look into this and learn what it is that maybe God was trying to say, that the silver is mine and the gold is mine. Go to lancewallnau.com/Birch and find out for yourself.
And here we are, back again with the next segment of this rapid-moving missile of a broadcast. And listen, we're going to bring you some stuff today that you've never heard before from several sources. One of them is, would you read the Charlie Kirk tweet that he just put out there, Mercedes?
Yeah, sure. I like this, what he posted. I think it reflects a lot of the sentiments of our viewers. It says, I do not stand with Ukraine. I do not stand with Russia. I do not stand with the UN or NATO. I stand with the civilians in each country who will lose everything and be displaced, while politicians and their media play their war and propaganda games. I think that reflects so accurately the sentiments of so many people.
I'm fed up with this war and propaganda. Maybe we can get a hold of Charlie Kirk for a podcast.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm serious. I think Charlie and I are on the same side of this thing here. I'm getting fed up with this stuff, people. Camera, you coming over to me?
I think it might be frozen on our side, just on the display. I'm sure they're switching live, but it was frozen.
You have to come over to me when I'm talking. When I'm talking.
Technical difficulties.
I'm on the screen.
It is. No, it is. It just switches. I think sometimes it doesn't happen to you all the time, but on my screen, I'll freeze sometimes in like the live box. So don't worry about it.
Oh, that's what you say.
We're still live.
Okay. Well, we're still live. Sorry, a little bit of kibitzing here in the program. Now I got something I want to point out. This is important. Russia takes action against Hunter Biden and 12 other Americans. They, in response to a series of unprecedented sanctions, banning, among other things, entry into the United States for top officials of the Russian Federation. President Biden is included in the Russian stop list on the basis of mutual reciprocity. The Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs said in a statement that Biden, Secretary Blinken, Defense Austin, and Chairman of Joint Chiefs of Staff Miley, as well as a number of department heads and other American leaders, they're now coming back at them. Now, here's the story that is hidden in the story. The KGB isn't what it used to be. I thought this spy network of Putin was far more advanced than this. They're taking action against Hunter Biden and putting him on the list of unwelcome people. If they were doing their job, they would know what's on the laptop. If they were doing their job, they'd know. When Trump was saying to Zelensky, get me the dirt on Hunter and on Joe, because I know they're running a corrupt scheme with Burisma Holdings and I know he's getting paid and there's a kickback. I expected Russia to have the goods on Biden. I secretly wondered if they would be blackmailing Biden because they've got information on Hunter. Evidently, they don't. The KGB just isn't what it used to be, folks. Mm-hmm. Just like the Army is stuck. The Army isn't what we thought it was. The KGB isn't what we thought it was. But those nuclear devices are what we think they are. So let's not push this analysis too far. The other thing I want to cover real quick is, and this is very important. No, I'll come back to this. This is that they not only want sanctions, but they want reparations. They want Alaska back. So we'll talk about that when we come back. But the situation over there is for the civilians. Your tweet, or your quote from Charlie, is that I'm not sympathetic with the drums of war. I'm not sympathetic with Putin. I'm not sympathetic necessarily with the World Economic Forum or Davos, which is really the battle that's going on here. It's the United States, Davos, and the world order of the globalists, the bankers, and the elites, of which Lindsey Graham is part of. It's them versus the empire aspirations of Putin and the empire aspirations of China. Get the game set right. What will come up next is going to be the emergence of the caliphate under Iran, and you'll see that territory of Pakistan and Afghanistan and Saudi Arabia. You're going to start to see something cooking there, and that'll be the real mess. So we're watching the Game of Thrones right now, which we wrote about in our best-selling book on, God's Chaos Code. But right now, I want to talk to someone who has been boots on the ground, doing work like a journalist. Danielle Moore was a commander in the Israel Air Force, completed her degrees in international relations at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. She's directing strategy for Aliyah, which has to do with getting Jewish people out of other nations that are seeking asylum in the land of Israel, which is, by the way, a fulfillment of prophecy that God said that after the Jews are scattered throughout the world, that he would gather them back together. This is one of the odd outcomes of the Holocaust, was the discovery of the necessity of restoring the Jewish state. And it's the miracle of our lifetime that Israel exists as a nation in its homeland. And so Danielle, and I believe Mario Bramnick, one of the leaders of a very powerful coalition that works with the embassies in Jerusalem and the United States, they're both going to be able to talk to us. But Danielle, tell us about, you just came back from Poland or the Polish border. They are receiving what? How many refugees are trying to get into Poland? And tell us a report of what's happening.
So thank you, Lance. The situation on the ground in Poland is really, it's heartbreaking and it's heart-wrenching. What's happening there is really the majority of the refugees that are fleeing for their lives from Ukraine, they attempt to cross the border into Poland. And I have to say that there is such an outpouring of support by many organizations that are trying to help the refugees. You can see this across, you can see this in the train stations and the border and the cities, the collections of food, collections of baby equipment. People are running away with nothing, with absolutely nothing. People that just yesterday were just, the normal life that you might lead, have a home, have a family, have a bank account. And just within minutes, they become refugees running for their lives, leaving absolutely everything behind.
Shocking. And explain to me why the Jewish people are wanting to escape Ukraine. I thought Ukraine was a safe place for Jews. What's going on that is making them want to return to Israel and go and make Aliyah?
Well, in recent years, Ukraine has been a safe place for Jews. It has been a country that has done a lot against anti-Semitism and has acted very strongly for it. If you look at the history of Ukraine, it's very different, sadly. It's probably one of the countries that is most drenched with Jewish blood. My own ancestors were murdered in Ukraine before and also during the Holocaust. That reality has changed in recent years, but what we see happening now is a repeat of a nightmare that nobody wishes to see. And the difference this time, the big difference this time, as opposed to 80 years ago, is that the Jewish people have a state. They have a state that was given to them by God, and this state can rescue and protect them. And we, the Jewish Agency for Israel, are the organization that is there on the ground making this rescue happen.
So the Jewish people are taking this disruption, and in a sense, this is working to bring them back to Israel. But it's not because of persecution. I think Zelensky makes a big deal out of the fact that he's got a Jewish background. So, but nevertheless, this is one of the byproducts. And because I'm hearing of organizations that are like yourself doing airlifts and bringing Jews back to Israel. So, tell me about how this works, because we only got 3 minutes left in the segment here. These people they still have their stuff. If there's a peace negotiation, right? They got homes and stuff like that. What are they going to have dual citizenship, or are they? I'm just trying to get my head wrapped around. You gave a brilliant analysis. It's like if we suddenly had to leave our homes here in America, I would still have furniture here. I got a job. I got all this stuff. Are they making permanent resettlement, or are they getting out of Ukraine to become citizens of Israel with dual status, or what?
Lance, I think the questions that you're asking are important questions, but they're not the questions that really most people are asking at this time. Because when I say that they're running for their lives, they're not running and locking the door behind them and knowing that they can find that same home once they maybe one day will return. They're running away from bombs and from fires and from destruction all around them. The convoys and the trains and the buses that are coming out towards the border are trying to crisscross between the bombings. And many people know, I met two sisters that escaped from the city of Kharkiv, and they already know for certain that the entire building in which they lived, that the school in which one of them taught as a teacher, they know that it is completely destructed. And what the Jewish Agency is doing together with its partners, and I have to say also together with very dedicated Christian friends on the ground, is that we are going into Ukraine outside the city of Lviv. We are meeting Jewish refugees at that point. We are bringing them across the border into either Hungary, Poland, Romania, or Moldova. From there, we are taking them to shelters that we have set up in each one of these countries. At present, we have approximately 7,000 people that are sheltering in them. And from there, we are, first of all, giving them food, lodgings, safety, medicine. I can't even tell you how many medical emergencies we've had to assist at this point because people are running without anything. They're not even taking their medical supplies with them. I met a woman that ran with her 2-month-old baby, and she ran at such speed that she didn't even take a stroller or a carrier with her. This woman has been on the road for over a week, going from bus to train until finally she reached the Jewish Agency transportation. And this whole week she has been carrying her tiny 2-month-old baby in her arms. I don't know if you can imagine that, but
you're painting a powerful picture, and imagine that, multiply it by thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands, perhaps, of others. All right, so I'm going to hold. I want Mario to stay on. We're going to go into the next segment. Danielle, you're doing a heroic job. Help me know, how can we support you? People want to do something for you. Where can they go?
They can support. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, there's a special page on lci.global on the Ukrainian refugee rescue. All of the monies that will be garnered will be directly given to the Jewish Agency specifically for the Ukraine rescue and Aliyah mission. All
right, thank you. We got to end this here. lci.global. Let's take action, people. You're a big army. You can make a difference, and we're going to come back and talk about this a little bit more when we get back. You know, if you're like me, you're listening to all this technological input. Now, I'm a baby boomer. I admit that. I'm on the north side of a lot of baby boomers. I'm in my 60s. And ExpressVPN starts popping up on my devices and making a compelling argument that I need to have security. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not exactly even sure what I'm VPNing. So I contact my team because I've got a crack group of producers and technical people that run this whole program. And Chelsea now is going to help me understand, what does ExpressVPN do, Chelsea? And why are we putting this on our phones and on our computers and in our office?
Well, the reason I started using an ExpressVPN personally was because every time you go online, you go on the internet, they're taking your data and stealing it, right? Like they're taking your data, they're selling it to this company, that company. Google's selling. Google, Facebook, whoever owns Twitter, all those people. Anytime you go on there and like you go into Google and you type in what you're searching for, they take that and they sell it. And they start using that to track you, track your friends. That's why if you have a conversation, like if I have a conversation with Mercedes about slippers, she Googles slippers. Well, I'm going to start getting ads for slippers because they see how much time we spend together. And so what ExpressVPN does is it anonymizes you on the internet. So if she goes online with the ExpressVPN turned on her phone, it's real simple, then Google can't track her Googling for slippers.
Oh, is it like another browser though, Chelsea?
No, it's not another browser. It's actually super simple. I didn't realize it was so simple when I downloaded it. So you just download it as an app on your phone and you turn it on and it runs in the background.
Oh.
But it is protecting you.
Yeah, it is protecting you. Yeah, it's super easy. I can even show you on my phone. So I turn it on and I open up the ExpressVPN app and you see green, it's turned on. So anytime you text someone, like even when I'm like texting Mercedes, like, hey, this, that, you know, blah, 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 it's not tracking it. It's not taking that data.
How?
And my favorite thing, for example, I like to watch some British television, and I can't always watch it when I want to watch it. Like Call the Midwife. It's releasing right now in England.
Oh my gosh, my wife watches that.
I know,
it's so
good.
traumatized.
It's so good.
I come home for dinner and it's like women are in like give breech birth or something.
I know it's my husband doesn't understand. But you can change your location on here to say, hey, I'm in England. And then you can watch the show you want to watch in the other country.
That's very millennial sneaky of you.
So that's my favorite thing. So number one, they're not selling my data. Number two, I can watch whatever I want to watch.
All right, so you can go to expressvpn.com/Lance, expressvpn.com/Lance, and you can get all these valuable hacks as well. And you're going to be able to protect your data and your privacy, which is increasingly important as we see the beast system approaching.
Thanks for listening to this Lance Wallnau broadcast. If you enjoyed today's show, make sure to subscribe and share the episode. See you tomorrow.